everybody. We are here live this Saturday morning, and we're so happy that you're here to join us. Today we're going to do some fun stuff. We're not going to be cooking, but we're going to do a raw demonstration on how to make organic raw fermented sauerkraut. So if you have any gut issues, or if you're trying to boost your immunity, get more probiotics in your diet, this is an easy way to do it. So you got to stay tuned to watch how we're going to do that. We're going to have a video from one of the local farms that we visited, and also a giveaway at the end. So you guys got to hang out for the whole thing. But we're going to go inside, grab the couple of ingredients that we need for today's demonstration. So let's go on in. So literally today, what we're going to make requires just 2 ingredients, one of which is a head of cabbage and the other is salt. So we're going to come over here, and we just got in these lovely cabbages last night. So check these things out. I mean, does it get any prettier than that, really? So this is going to be our main ingredient, the cabbage for the sauerkraut. And then I'm going to pick up a mason jar to do the canning. So I don't know if you guys know this, if you've shopped at the pharmacy before, you can find out that we do a jar return system because we try to eliminate the use of plastic as much as we can and recycle and use jars as much as we can. So our dry goods section, everything that's jarred from the pharmacy, you can actually bring those jars back and we give you $1 back on those. So if you don't have a mason jar to make your sauerkraut, you can come here and buy one for $1. And then when you return it, you get $1 back towards your purchase. Anyway, so these are the ingredients we need. We're going to do some prep on the produce, and while we're doing that prep, we're going to show you a quick video of one of the farms that we visited that we get this cabbage from. So if you guys stay tuned and check that out, we'll be right back for the demo. We're here today visiting the Barefoot Farmer, which is one of the small local farms that we source our produce from. But this is just part of their 40 acres or so that they have that they farm on and live on. Over here, you can see there's arugula, we got some collards, lettuce, broccoli, we've got kale, there's curly kale, there's Tuscan kale. So this is where our farmers spend the majority of their day out here harvesting, and then they come in and wash everything in the big wash vats that they have. Alright, and as we're here, it's starting to rain on and off. So I'm glad I'm not out there harvesting, but Paul's still out there working hard for us. Anyway, this house that's over here was his grandparents' house when they were alive. So the house at the front of their property that looks super farmy, because it is. This farmhouse has been here for, I'm sure, since whenever they first got this property. All right, so we are back, and we are going to get started to make our sauerkraut from the cabbage that we picked up at that farm that you just saw. So, and by the way, Super Bowl apparently is tomorrow. I don't know things like this because I don't do sports, but sauerkraut, you can use those on your brats or your dogs tomorrow, and it'll actually be a healthy thing that you can throw into all the regular Super Bowl indulgences that are normally not super healthy, but that is a healthy thing that you can add. So in order for us to get started, today we're going to be making sauerkraut made out of this amazing locally grown cabbage. And for those of you who are struggling possibly with some health issues, maybe you have leaky gut you've been diagnosed with, or you're trying to get more probiotics into your diet, making your own sauerkraut is a super inexpensive way for you to be able to get natural food-based probiotics into your diet. So it's just like, I mean, this whole head of cabbage might cost you $3 or so, and this will make easily 1 to 2 jars of sauerkraut. So I mean, it's something that's super reasonable for anybody to make. So as we get started here, the first thing I'm going to do is pull out some of these bigger outer leaves, which we will save and use later for keeping our sauerkraut submerged. So I'm going to pull off some of these bigger guys, and then we're going to go ahead and get started making the sauerkraut. All right, so I've got those put aside. So now we've got a little bit more. Actually, I'll go pull this one off too. So we've got our cabbage head. And so the first thing you do to get started is you cut your cabbage into quarters, which we have a really sharp knife, but cabbages are still kind of hard to get into. Ooh, especially when they're this fresh, because these literally were just picked yesterday. So they are incredibly fresh and really hard to get into. So don't mind me as I try to do this. Okay. Which, by the way, this knife is one of those, maybe I'm doing it wrong, because you're supposed to be able to throw up like the pineapple and karate chop it in half. We've literally done that before, but apparently right now it's not working all that great, but it's okay. So we'll go ahead and cut this into quarters. Now we have the main part of it done. And cutting it into quarters just makes it a little bit easier to get the really thin shreds that you need for making sauerkraut. All right, so, and now cabbage might not seem like that exciting of an ingredient. You might just think of like corned beef and cabbage or whatnot. But cabbage actually has a lot of health benefits. It is high in potassium, so it can help to naturally lower your blood pressure by opening up your blood vessels. It can help to lower bad cholesterol. So for those reasons, it's really good for your heart, and a really good natural thing that you can use like if you're trying to maintain a healthy blood pressure and a healthy cholesterol level. It's also anti-inflammatory, so it can reduce arthritis and joint pain. So if you have arthritis or joint pains, then cabbage can definitely help with that. And you can see here, I'm just cutting this into like really thin strips and ribbons. I'm probably only going to end up cutting maybe 2 quarters, because this is going to make a lot of sauerkraut. Like if I made all of this into sauerkraut, this would probably turn out to be maybe 2-3 pints worth, which is a heck of a lot of sauerkraut. So you can see you get like a lot for your money whenever you do it, making it yourself. So I'm going to start there, and then I'm just going to shred this one a little bit more too. All right, we are almost finished getting these cut into ribbons. So it really doesn't take that long to get it cut if you have a sharp knife once you get through the first bulky part, getting it cut up. All right, I think this is like gonna be more than enough cabbage here for me to get started. Yeah, all right. So now that we have the cabbage all shredded up, I'm going to transfer it to this bowl here. And the only other ingredient that you need is, ooh, that's too much, is sea salt. So you can't use iodized salt or regular table salt whenever you're making sauerkraut, because that keeps it from doing the fermentation properly. Sea salt, which I have here, I'm assuming most of you probably have at home, what that does is it keeps all of the bad bacteria from being able to populate into the cabbage. So, and I literally just put maybe quarter of a tablespoon in here, so a few teaspoons. And let me see here. So what I'm going to do next is just massage the salt into the leaves. And you're going to think that it really isn't like doing very much, but eventually it'll start to make some juice down into the bottom here. And you can just you got to massage it, pound it with your fist, do whatever you can to kind of start, the salt will start breaking this down. It's a little bit messy, and really a bigger bowl would be ideal. So if you have like a big mixing bowl, that is the way to do it. So it'll take a couple of minutes here for us to really kind of start to break this down. And if it doesn't break down a lot, you can add a little bit more salt. The salt kind of tends to draw the moisture out and get the process going. And so this is like the hardest part of it. There's no cooking. It's literally just getting the moisture to come out of the cabbage. So we'll keep massaging it, and once we get this where it has enough moisture, then we'll go ahead and pack it into the mason jar. So the benefits of cabbage, which you guys might not know about, or not cabbage, of fermented sauerkraut made with cabbage, is basically everything that has to do with cabbage that I mentioned earlier, but even more, because whenever you ferment vegetables, it makes those nutrients more bioavailable, which means they're easier to digest. and that is because the bacteria kind of pre-digest the food for you, which sounds kind of gross, but it's not. There's naturally occurring bacteria that live on the cabbages and on all produce and all things, and it's those bacteria that do the fermenting. So they populate the jar that you're putting everything in, and then they ferment the vegetables. So, and most people are trying to get good probiotics into their diet, and you could use different supplements and pills, but I personally prefer to just use food-based sources of probiotics because, first of all, you get food with it. It's a lot less expensive. I think it's a lot more effective because whenever you are eating a food that has a live bacteria on it, you know that it's a live food. You don't really know when you're taking a pill how much has survived through the processing or whatnot. So it's a great way. I'm literally out of breath from pounding this, massaging this cabbage. So anyway, it's a little bit of a workout too. I think it's gotten, you can kind of see like my hands are literally wet from massaging it because it's gotten, the moisture has come out of the cabbage. So we'll go ahead and start packing that into this mason jar. Another thing, whenever you're trying to get probiotics into your diet that you might not realize is that probiotics do a lot to regulate your immune system. They are like the bouncers at a club, basically letting the good guys and bad guys, letting the good guys in and keeping the bad guys out, because your intestinal tract lining is opens and closes like this. It's called the tight junctions, and the bacteria help to regulate that. So if you have a lack of beneficial bacteria in your gut, then those opening and closing will not be working properly, and they'll get stuck open and start letting things into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. So if you eat probiotic foods, it helps to keep them letting just the bad guys in, or the good guys in, keep the bad guys out. All right, so I've almost got this one packed. As you can see, it really doesn't take that long. It's kind of messy. We got cabbage down in here. All right, and we're almost done. And I don't have quite enough to fill up this whole jar, but that's okay because I have a trick I'm going to show you guys. And normally I haven't quite massaged this one just enough to get as much liquid as I would like to have in here. So I might, if I were making this at home, massage it a little bit more, because what it does is it submerges itself in its own brine, the saltwater brine. So it gets its own liquid going on there. And whenever you don't have enough to keep it fully submerged in its own liquid, I have a trick that I'll show you guys. So, got that there. And then this is why we save one of these big, nicer leaves, because I'm going to tear off part of this leaf here. And then I'm just going to put that leaf on top. So, with this leaf, this is going to help keep the whole thing submerged in its own juices. All right. And then here comes the trick. So there's two different methods that you could use to make sure that it stays submerged. And it's important that it stays submerged because you don't want any of the cabbage to be exposed to air. That's whenever the bad bacteria can grow. So if it's submerged in its own brine, it keeps it from growing any harmful bacteria. And so, by the way, if you guys are nervous about fermenting, it's really hard to mess it up. People have been doing this for a long time, literally like thousands of years. This is how people used to preserve food before the refrigerators. So it's like kind of foolproof. If you have mold growing on the top, you might even be able to just take off the leaf, sniff it. If it smells okay, keep going. It's really not that scary. It seems a little intimidating, but I promise it's not. Okay, so whenever you got your leaf there, you're keeping it submerged so that it doesn't grow the harmful bacteria. There's one of two things you can do. You could either, if you packed it into a quart-sized jar, you could put another jar on top of it, like if this were in here, and then put the lid, and then that would push it down and keep it submerged. But what I'm going to do today, since I packed it in this jar, is I just have a little bag, Ziploc bag that's full of salt water, and then that is going to go in here. Well, I might have to empty out a little bit of the water. Just pour some of this out. So that is going to keep it submerged the rest of the way. So it's just a little trick that I figured out, because sometimes it's really hard. Oh, woo! Or sometimes you do that. Sometimes it's hard to like figure out exactly how much cabbage you have. That's why it's good to just have an extra amount. But sometimes if you have more than one mason jar full and you wind up with like a little half a jar or a quarter of a jar, but it's not enough to come to the top to keep all the air out, you can do this trick, and then you can have a little half jar fermenting. Okay, so you can see we've got it all packed under. The cabbage is all submerged. And then all you do is just put the lid on loosely, and then set it on your counter for somewhere between a week to, I mean, they can ferment for up to like a month or more, depending on how tangy you like it. But you leave the lid kind of loosely on, because it's going to have some gases and things that bubble up while it's doing the fermenting. And you might want to check it every now and then, because it'll get a little bit tighter. You can loosen it and kind of burp it or whatnot while it sits on your counter. But you put it in a warm place, preferably maybe like your kitchen counter, so you can keep an eye on it. Check it every couple of days. But about after a week, it should be ready. It'll start to have a little bit of a tangy taste to it. And then you will have your own homemade, organic, locally grown probiotics that are really like readily bioavailable for you to ingest. So that is what we made this week with our local cabbage that we picked up from our local farm. And we love to see the recipes that you guys make as well. So we share recipes like this using the hashtag #ThePharmacyPlate on social media. So if you watch this little clip, we'll show you guys how to use that to share your recipes. And then whenever we get back, we're going to do our giveaway for this week. Hey guys, Kathy from the pharmacy here. You've asked us for recipes, so we decided to start a community source e-cookbook. Next time you make a dish with any ingredients from the pharmacy, just snap a pic, add the recipe in the description, and use hashtag #ThePharmacyPlate. Want to find a recipe? Just search for hashtag #ThePharmacyPlate. Use recipes and share recipes from people in your community with food sourced from your community. So we are back, and we're going to do this week's giveaway. So as you can see, this process, if you want to make your own sauerkraut, maybe 15 minutes or so of mixing and jarring and doing all that. But if you don't feel like doing it, we carry ready-made organic raw sauerkraut that comes from Lake Meadow Naturals Farm in Ocoee, and that is what we're going to be giving away this week. So if you want to enter to win this delicious organic sauerkraut, all you have to do is comment on this video at some point during the week. We'll be doing the giveaway on Monday. And the giveaway last week that we did, which was for the coconut aminos, Jackie DeCosmo was the winner. So congrats, Jackie. We'll be giving this away. So if you guys be sure to enter and stay tuned, we will be doing a live giveaway for that. And then I think that is about it. We appreciate you guys sticking around to watch this demo. I hope that it was helpful for you. Definitely give it a shot, and don't be afraid about trying to ferment some stuff. I forgot to mention, you can use this method and add all different kind of vegetables in. You could add in carrots and garlic and all kinds of stuff. So you could really get creative in doing your own fermentation, making your own probiotics, saving yourself some money, and helping your health while you do it. So hope you guys have an amazing weekend and stay healthy. And we'll see you next Saturday morning. Have a good one.